Alright, so in today's video, you guys know what we're doing. It's the first day of the season. We gotta go over the best settings and sensitivity. You know, it's all preference at the end of the day, but I want to give you guys my best settings for, like, everything that's not Sens, and then show you my Sens and explain it for you guys. But if you guys do enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe. Let's run through all the boring stuff first, and then we'll get to the Sens. Starting off in the general section, stun VFX, use whatever you want, white, glare, or dark. This will be when you get flashed. Tinnitus, SFX. I use muted. People were confused on what to use with audio. This is something that people still kind of don't understand. You don't need to use ringing. You don't need to use wave. This literally just means if you get stunned, would you like to hear a ringing noise or not? Like a wavy ringing noise, a complete ringing noise, or nothing when you get stunned. Why the hell would you want to hear anything when you get stunned? My whole screen is flashed anyway, so it doesn't matter. I already know I'm being stunned. So just mute it. Diffuser pickup, I have on both. This just means that if I walk on top of it, it'll pick it up. Or if I'm near it, I can press X to pick it up. I just have both in case I want to do both. Drone after prep, always have on manual, so that way if you're trying to get away from somebody, you know, doesn't kick you off once the drone phase ends. HUD, this is all preference. Only thing I would do is I put the compass on simplified, so that way it's not as big. Audio, I use low. Okay, so the low is, once again, this is going to be like the old night mode. Low is going to make everything that is not footsteps quieter. So none of these options will make footsteps louder. But what the low will do is it will lower everything else that is not footsteps, which in return, when the gunshots and explosions are quieter, it makes it easier to hear the footsteps. So this is basically the same thing as night mode. Master volume, I use 100, generally preference, but you want it to be, you know, high so you can hear. And voiceover presets, I have a maximum. I at least have them on gameplay focus, but I just keep my maximum, doesn't really matter. Display, if you want my PC settings, 1610, 240 hertz. If you're on console, you're going to be on 16.9, that's the default. But my FOV is 90. Now, if you're somebody who uses a lot of ACOGs and you were playing on 90, don't be afraid to lower your FOV to 84 if you still want to use, I mean, if you're going to obviously now use the one-time scopes because a lot of ACOGs got removed. But I just use 90, and I would not recommend going below 84. I think 84 is the lowest you should go. And I play on 65 brightness. Now, for controls, this is the part we're all here for. Vibration enabled. I need vibration. It's going to sound really weird, but like I feel really weird controlling recoil if I don't have my vibration on. It's just weird. Gadget deployment advanced, always have this on. This would be if I'm like placing a thermite down on a wall, someone runs out, I'm not stuck in that animation. Drone deployment advanced, leaning behavior alternate, then 50, 100, 5, 5, 0, 0, obviously for my vertical, horizontal, and then left stick dead zone, left LTRT dead zone. Now, one thing to note for this, okay, if you get stick drift, you want to increase this, okay? So I would never play on 0 on this. Let me show you real quick why. If I put my dead zones on 0, look. Now, you could be sitting there saying, well, that's why I have a GameSir controller, so that never happens because I have a GameSir controller. Yo, buddy, listen. I know I have a GameSir back there, but I'm not using that shit, bro. It does not have the 4 paddles that I like. So, if you want to stop that now, right, you just go like this, and look, we're good. There's nothing, there's no stick drift, because all you gotta do is just increase the dead zones, and you'll be chilling. Controller ADS 1924, the rest don't matter. These two might look a little bit low, but you're going to have these advanced settings to help you. Now, I'm going to give you a brief understanding of these advanced settings so that way you can use them correctly. But for these, I use 25, 20, 0.15, 0.35, 35, 30, 0.15, 1.0, 2, and 0. So the main thing you want to know is that because I have 1924, obviously that seems slow. How are you going to be able to flick on somebody if you're on a 1924 ADS? There's a few things you have to know. If you were playing on your sensitivity, let's say you were, I don't know, 30, 80. That was your sense. 30 vertical, 80 sensitivity, or 80 horizontal. The 1924 would feel different than it would if you're on 50, 100. Because your ADS and your sensitivity as a whole kind of all mesh together. So you can test this out by taking whatever sense you have on right now and lower your vertical, lower your horizontal, and you'll still notice your sense feels different. So your sense is going to feel different based off of everything as a whole and not just like your ADS. I use these advanced settings because if I want to flick, I want to make sure I can actually still flick onto people. So this setting basically means outer threshold. We see a little graph on the right side. When my analog stick moves a certain amount to the right or to the left, these settings are going to turn on. Obviously, you would not want your 19 sensitivity to increase by 35 off the rip once I move my analog stick a little bit. So that doesn't happen. The reason that does not happen is due to stuff like the look acceleration delay, the look acceleration ramp up time, or the ADS acceleration delay, the ADS acceleration ramp up time. This basically means if I'm aiming and I flick to my right, and let's say it increases by 35, it's not going to instantly do that. What's going to happen is it's going to take 0.15 seconds once I move that analog stick to the right before it even starts to do anything. And then it's going to take a full second for it to reach the 19 plus 35. So in 0.15 seconds, it's going from 19 to now, let's say in 0.5 seconds, we're now at like 35 or 30 complete ADS, because it takes obviously a full second to reach the 19 plus the 35. So it sounds confusing, but it's really not. It's really not too confusing. As for accessibility, I make sure I have screen shake off, motion blur on. I don't know, I just like motion blur. It looks weird, bro, when it's off. But when it comes to the best attachments, what I would recommend that you always use is I use compensator on just about everything. There's a few things I don't use compensator on. Now, this is going to be specifically for controller. Not too sure about mouse and keyboard. But for controller, I can tell you I use flash hider on Ash R4C, Twitch F2, Finka, Spear, and LMG. R4C on RAM, obviously, as well as Nomad and Deimos. Those are the weapons I'm going to use flash hider on. Every single other weapon I'm going to use compensator on. Simply because you have to think about this, right? If you're on a controller, it's way easier to just pull down, right? In my opinion, to pull down is way easier than to compensate for left and right recoil. So I would rather have a compensator on, so that way it's going to eliminate the horizontal recoil, in return making it to where I only need to pull down. So we're chilling. So that's why you're going to use compensator on most things. It's way easier to pull down than it is to compensate for left and right. However, the weapons I do use a flash hider on, I'm going to use this flash hider here because there's really not any horizontal recoil. So I might as well have the help of it pulling down for me. Let's see. Like, I might as well have that help because there's not really any horizontal recoil. And you can see this by even just doing something like this. Just shoot a couple times at a wall like this. Let's put a flash hider on. The most it's going to go to is to the right. A very little bit. So all I'm really going to have to do is pull down and to the left. But you can see this because of the spacing of the bullets. It's a very tight pull down. Like, you don't have to pull down a crazy amount due to the spacing of the bullets. If they were much more spaced out, that would tell you that you have to pull down more. But when you use a flash hider on something like this, look at that. Look at this. We're chilling. Look, see? I can control its recoil just fine due to the flash hider. It's not a lot of horizontal recoil. Granted, I'm recoil capping right now. You can tell if you're recoil capping once the sound goes away. But you can still even see in the beginning before I was recoil capping that it's not bad. Let's see. And I just hopped on. I am not warmed up by any means. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't want to copy my sensitivity as a whole and you rather just fine-tune your sensitivity, that's very, very good. And I'd advise you to not change your sensitivity to mine immediately or even just change your sense at all. You want to get used to your sensitivity. So the thing that I always tell people, if you remember earlier, I was speaking on how your vertical and horizontal all affect your ADS as well. So when you change your sensitivity between vertical, horizontal, and ADS, you're changing three huge things. That's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make it very hard to get used to again. So when you just solely focus on your ADS, it's going to help you so much because it's going to completely just allow you to hone in on one thing and slowly bring it down or bring it up depending on if it's too slow. I'd recommend going in intervals of 2. And you just want to get to the point to where you can generally follow this ball. So if you can follow this ball, you'll be chilling. It's not going to be perfect. The guy just hopped on, so my shit is not perfect. But you generally want to be able to follow the ball and not be too ahead or not be too behind. So just fine-tune your ADS until you can generally keep up with the ball. Like I said, just keep practicing. It's not going to be perfect off the rip. But that's all you got to really do if you want to, like, fine-tune your sensitivity and not change it as a whole. Hopefully this does help, though. Good luck on your season, and let me know what you guys want to see next. But I'll see y'all. Much love. Peace.